Just to briefly review, we were introduced to Savitri in the first two cantos. And then in this third canto, we were introduced to her father, Aswapati, the king, a great yogi. And we're reading about his spiritual realization. And we've had the picture drawn of an integral realization, one not only of a kind of a release into the infinite, into the spirit, but also a descent of the spirit transforming his entire nature. His mind, his vital, emotional nature, and even to some extent his physical being. Even the light is descending down into his subconscious. And now, just in the last few lines, we're given a sense of his changed perception of the universe, seeing it as a living body of God, not merely kind of a mechanical engine moving, inconsciently. He sees it as a living being. In some of the last lines we read on towards the end of page 42, a secret sense awoke that could perceive a presence and a greatness everywhere. The universe was not now this senseless world, borne round inert on an immense machine. It cast away its grandiose, lifeless front, a mechanism no more, or work of chance, but a living movement of the body of God. A spirit hid in forces and in forms was the spectator of the mobile scene. The beauty and the ceaseless miracle let in a glow of the unmanifest. The formless, everlasting moved in it, seeking its own perfect form in souls and things. Life kept no more a dull and meaningless shape. And I'll just continue the next two lines. In the struggle and upheaval of the world, he saw the labor of a Godhead's birth. And from there, maybe Helmut, you could continue.
A secret knowledge masked as ignorance. Masked as ignorance. Fate covered with an uneven necessity, the game of chance of an omnipotent will. A glory and a rapture and a charm, the all blissful set unknown within the heart. Earth's pains were the ransom of the risen delight. A glad communion tinged the passing hours. The days were travelers on a destined road, the nights companions of his oozing spirit. A heavenly impetus quickened all his breast. The touch of time changed to a splendid march. The divine dwarf towered to unconquered worlds. Earth grew too narrow for his victory. Once only registering the heavy tread of a blind power on human littleness, life now became a sure approach to God. Existence a divine experiment, and cosmos the soul's opportunity. The world was a conception and a birth of spirit and matter into living forms. And nature bore the immortal in her womb, that she might climb through him to eternal life.
Thank you. So again, he's seeing the world as the divine, but an unfolding of the divine in time, in evolution. So in the last lines that I read, he saw it as the labor of a Godhead's birth. So he sees it now as a purposeful unfolding of the divine. A secret knowledge masked as ignorance. Within the ignorance of the universe, hidden is this secret knowledge, the Spirit, gradually unfolding. Fate covered with an unseen necessity, the game of chance of an omnipotent will. On the surface, it appears like a game of chance, but deeper down to his vision, it's really an omnipotent will unfolding itself. And the next sentence gives us something of the secret or the purpose of pain and suffering in the world. He says first, a glory and a rapture and a charm, the all blissful sat unknown within his heart. So the divine hidden within the world, he calls here the all blissful. And then earth's pains were the ransom of its prison delight. So the pain, the suffering of earth are the payment needed for the release of this bliss, delight that is hidden within. And for him, a glad communion tinged the passing hours. So he could commune with that all blissful within him. And he felt the days as travelers on a destined road. And now his movement on that road, on that unfolding of the divine, is quickening. A heavenly impetus quickened all his breast. The trudge of time changed to a splendid march. The divine dwarf towered to unconquered worlds. Earth grew too narrow for his victory.
The divine dwarf?
Yeah, I think someone else may know that story, could recite that better than me, but there was, I don't know, does someone know?
3 steps.
Yeah, he took 3 steps.
I think it was Vamana.
Vamana.
Yeah, he was one of the gods in the succession of evolution.
He was one of the avatars, yeah.
No, this is not the divine God. This is demons. It was a suppressed by Vishnu's state. Want to come out. It is not that sense.
Well, his 3rd step he put on the head of the Asura or something and pushed him down into the lower worlds, right?
No. Coming out, that is not divine. This is a demon. It was suppressed by Vishnu's state. So this sense is not there. I think it is some secret divine that is a dwarf. It is not unfolded still. Now it is folding.
Well, that's certainly the symbolic meaning of it.
Because Earth grew too narrow. It's
I think it's just the divine that not fully manifested the psychic being or the spark and evolution. So it's divine, but the divine God of the omniscient. It's still under the progression of evolution.
And that, but in that story also, that dwarf, in taking those 3 steps, he conquered the 3 worlds. He conquered the heavens, the earth, and the lower worlds. The subterranean, the subconscious worlds, remember?
The story is different. That is why I just
And, but this is also significant for in Aswapati's story, because eventually he wants the realization not simply as a personal realization, but a realization for the whole world. I mean, for everyone. So existence became a divine experiment and cosmos the soul's opportunity. Miho?
This being lay down in bright, immobile peace and bathed in waves of pure spiritual light. It wandered in wide fields of wisdom self, lit by the rays of an everlasting sun. Even his body's subtle self-breathing could raise the earthly parts towards higher things and feel only the breath of a heavenlier air. Already it journeyed towards divinity, upon wings light it could not always hold. It left mind distance from the truth screen, and the lost lives in capacity for release, all now suppressed in us, begin to emerge.
Thank you.
It's 778. Even his body's subtle self within. So, subtle self of the body is something body transformation.
Yeah, there's sometimes talked about this subliminal being. So we live also in kind of other dimensions, and which we can access by going within in our consciousness. And we have kind of subtle physical part of our being, a subtle vital part of our being, a subtle mental part of our being. So these are kind of subtle selves within us that even move around in the subtle physical world, in the vital worlds, in the mental worlds. So these are these subtle sheaths of our being. And here he's talking about, I think, that subtle body itself is receiving this higher light of the divine.
There's 5 questions, no?
Yeah, 5 questions. Yeah, there's the 3 lower ones, and then I think the Vijnana and the Bliss Purusha, which kind of stands for Satchidananda also.
So both of these sometimes the saint looks very glorious. Their face, everything white is there. It is happening like for this. The subtle self get the what we say, saint are very white and very peaceful.
Yeah, it's connected with our outer self as well. All of these kind of inner beings kind of try to find some expression in our surface life. Sometimes something of that subtle physical may kind of shine out through the gross physical. So when you see someone, with kind of seem to have kind of a light in their eyes or in their face, it can be from that kind of expression of the subtle physical.
Body consciousness.
Does it mean that he's trying to say that even those inner beings and higher parts are already awakened and conscious, even in the physical level, the subtle body itself is also,
Yeah.
that's what he's saying.
Yeah. So all his being is kind of opened up to the spiritual light and the spiritual force, the spiritual bliss. And he's experiencing that influx of all of these divine forces into his being, even down to his physical being. And now we come kind of to the last passage, which is a very powerful passage, kind of giving us a powerful view of his spiritual realization up until this point. And sir, would you like to read? You can.
The skin, his soul's released from ignorance, his mind and voice past his solutions. A wide God knowledge poured out from Bhavan, a new word knowledge poured from Auroville. His telling thoughts looked up to the poor one, his comes ways, welcome in your light. Watching to the lines that nature slides, attend to her moments, the legs without you. A grew one with the property was. She grasps her eyes to her mightiest generous face. He spoke with unknown guardians of the words. Once he described all her lives in nothing. His wide eyes were in viewless centuries. He saw the sleep forces, but there was who fell up the green box behind and swam. Ten sitters were with him and up records of the future and the past. Outline their thoughts, made the experience.
Thank you. Pause. The title of the canto is The Yoga of the King, the Yoga of the Soul's Release. So this first line tells us that this soul's release is from ignorance. The soul is released from ignorance. That sense of division from the divine. That's how Sri Aurobindo kind of thinks of ignorance, or a sense of being divided, individual, separate beings, separate from all around us, separate from the divine. For Aswapati now, he sees the divine everywhere, in himself, all around, in the world. He sees the world as an unfolding of the divine and time, manifestation of the divine. And along with that, there's this opening to the higher divine forces. So a wide God knowledge poured down from above. And a new world knowledge brought in from within. The divine also he finds within himself, and the divinity within is also being released, is being realized by him, joining with the divine outside and around. So even his daily thoughts looked up to the true and one. His commonest doings welled from an inner light. It's not only a realization kind of set apart in times of meditation, withdrawn within, but even in his outer life, his commonest doings, his everyday thoughts, they're always in communion with this divine that he sees everywhere. And then he speaks of that inner being that we were talking about, that subtle self within. awaken to the lines that nature hides, attune to her movements that exceed our ken. So in the outer life, we don't see these worlds within, the subtle physical, the subliminal being, the vital worlds, the mental worlds. We don't see that. It's hidden by the outside physical.
What is ken?
Within our grasp, within our purview. He grew one with a covert universe, this universe within. And his grasp surprised her mightiest energy's springs. These inner worlds, these inner parts of our being have greater power than our outer self. So he is able to kind of seize on those powers, utilize them. He spoke with the unknown guardians of the worlds. Within, there are all these gods and demons and beings of different realms. He sees them, he can converse with them. Forms he described, our mortal eyes see not. He could see them, their outlines, their forms. His wide eyes bodied viewless entities. He saw the cosmic forces at their work and felt the occult impulse behind man's will. We think our will is our own individual, thing, our own control, but actually these occult forces from these inner worlds also influence us, influence our will, influence our actions, our thoughts. And even for him, he can look into the past and into the future. Time's secrets were to him an oft-read book. Could plainly see what was going to happen in the future. It's like a book he's read many times. Outlined their excerpts on the etheric page. Sometimes Sri Aurobindo talked in his diary of yoga, the record of yoga, that he would see this kind of writing, kind of maybe explaining telling what was going to happen in the future. With his subtle vision, he would see this writing telling him things, giving him messages. I think he's referring to that. Would you continue?
Warm and harmonious that make us keep the human in pace with the divine. Which arts betray from the interior pain, this caused the greatness of its form to on. The genius painted in his body says that the meaning of its faith-based words akin to the marks of unaccomplished powers, beyond lives are in spirit's immensities. Apart, deeply in his mind's solitude, they become setting the leaves of time. One soul's vision lifted up the race, the power work, but not you whence it came. The universal strains were linked with kings, feeling odds qualities with their boundless breaths. It drew the energies that transmute and age, immediately by the common will. It made great dreams, it bold for coming things, and husked his deeds like moons from the west. Each one through time outstripped the human stride, lonely his days and splendid like the stars.
Thank you. The first part of the passage gave us a view of his inner being, what was happening within, this light coming down. He's opening up to these inner worlds and seeing and interacting with them. This part gives us a view of how he looks from outside and about his actions in the world. And it begins, the human in him paced with the divine. So this outside humanity was also kind of being integrated with that inner realization. His acts betrayed not the interior flame. So we could say that his actions were in conformity with that interior flame, that interior realization that he had. They betrayed it not. And this forged the greatness of his front to earth. So his interaction with the outside world. A genius heightened in his body's cells. Again, we see that realization affecting even his physical body, his cells, that knew the meaning of his faith-hedged works. So his outer body, his outer actions understood were in, again, conformity with that inner realization. We're giving it kind of a clear expression.
What is the faith-hedged works?
Which line?
Faith-hedged works.
The line number?
810.
Well, it seems that, so the outer body understood his role, his divine role in the world, his fate, but his demarcated fate, I guess, his fate that was set for him to accomplish his work, whatever that was in the world. He understood what his role was assigned by fate, assigned by the gods. Well, akin to the march of unaccomplished powers, there are powers within which have not been fully manifested outwardly as yet in the kind of unfolding evolution of humanity. So they're unaccomplished powers. They're not fully realized outwardly. Their march is their progressive unfoldment. And I guess maybe as it's kind of following that previous line, he is also, we were told in the author's note, his role is he's the leader of the evolution. He is in the forefront of the evolution. So he's leading this manifestation of the unaccomplished powers that lie within us. Or that lie beyond life's arc and spirit's immensities, that are still above. But his work, in a sense, is to bring these out. Apart, he lived in his mind's solitude, a demigod shaping the lives of men. One soul's ambition lifted up the race. A power worked, but none knew whence it came. This whole passage, but especially these lines, really give us a sense of Sri Aurobindo, I think. Sitting in his room, apart in his mind's solitude, sitting silently, quietly in his chair, but influencing the people around, the world events around him. One soul, ambition, lifted up the race. He has also given us this great ideal to kind of strive for. And in the midst of, the Second World War, when everything was being destroyed and evil in the world was on the rise, he was giving this vision of a divine humanity coming in the future as an ideal to strive for. Power worked, but none knew whence it came. This power of divine force was working within him, but none could see where that was coming from. The universal strengths were linked with his, filling earth's smallness with their boundless breadth. He drew the energies that transmute an age. immeasurable by the common look. He made great dreams a mold for coming things, and cast his deeds like bronze to front the years. His walk through time outstripped the human stride, lonely his days, and splendid like the sun's. So we've been given a look at Aswapati's yoga and spiritual realization, his release from the ignorance, and as we continue to the next canto, The Secret Knowledge, we're going to kind of step back in a way from Aswapati, and we're going to get a view of what he understands, what he sees of the world, of the universe, of the spiritual reality behind things. So it's kind of a very special canto in the whole book. I think Shraddhavan, and maybe she got that from Amal Kiran, spoke of this as kind of like another Upanishad, this canto, because it has a very deep kind of knowledge or perception of existence and of our world. So this is a knowledge that Aswapati is realizing. And after we're given a vision of this knowledge, then we'll continue again with another canto, the yoga of the king, the yoga of the spirit's freedom and greatness. And so we'll kind of continue and see further his sadhana and higher aspects of his realization. But for now, we're going to get a picture of his perception of this secret knowledge that he gains. So now, as usual, we'll read through kind of without stopping, without commentary. And I think because it's a fairly long canto, maybe we'll just read about halfway through, and then we'll go back, read again, and comment. And when we finish that, we'll read through the second half of the canto. So it will take us some time. But we can begin reading. And Nitya, if you would like to continue.
Canto feel the secret knowledge. On a height he stood that looked towards greater heights. Our early approaches to the infinite, our sunrise splendors on a marvelous verge, while lingers yet unseen the glorious sight. What now we see is a shadow of what must come. The earth's outlook to a remote unknown is a preface only of the epic climb of human soul from its flat earthly state to the discovery of a greater self and the far being of an eternal life. This world is a beginning and ways, where life and mind edit their structural dreams, and unknown power must build reality. A dead-bound littleness is not all we are. Immortal are forgotten vastnesses, await discovery in our summit selves. Unmeasured breadths and depths of being are ours. Akin to the ineffable secrecy, mystic, eternal in unrealized time, neighbors of heaven are nature's multitudes. To these high-peaked dominions sealed to our search, too far from surface nature's coastal waves, too lofty for our mortal lives to be, deep in us, a forgotten picture points, and faint voice of ecstasy and prayer calls to those who seem lost immensities.
Thank you. Next, would you like to read in the back?
Even when we fail to look into our souls, or lie embedded in earthly consciousness, still happy paths that grow towards the light, yet are there luminous tracks and heaven's serene, and Eldorados of splendor and ecstasy, and temples to be guarded none can see. The shapeless memory lingers in us still, and sometimes, when our sight is turned within, earth's ignorant veil is lifted from our eyes. There is a short, miraculous escape. This narrow fringe of grand experience we leave behind meted to us as life. Our little walks are insufficient reach. Our souls can visit the great lonely arms, still regions of impenetrable light, all-seeing eagle peaks of silent power, and moon-flamed oceans of swift, fathomless bliss, and calm immensities of spirit space.
Thank you. Next, yeah.
In unfolding process of the self, sometimes the inexpressible mystery, elect a human vessel of descent, a blessed comes down from earth, spurned air, a presence is born, a guiding light awake, a stillness words upon instrument, fixed, motionless like a marble monument. Stone calm, the body is pedestal, supporting a figure of eternal peace, or revealing forth weeks blazing in. Out of some vast, superior continent, knowledge breaks through spreading its radiant seeds, and nature trembles with the power, the flame, a greater personality sometimes possesses which yet we know is ours. Or we adore the master of our souls, then small bodily ego thinks and falls, no more insisting on its separate self, losing
On killing.
of its separate parts. It leaves us one with nature and with God.
Thank you. Next, would you?
In moments when the inner lamps are lit and the light changed guests are left outside, our spirit sits alone and speaks to with God. A wider consciousness opens then its doors, embodying from spiritual silence a ray of the timeless glory stoops away. To commune with our Caesar luminous clay and leaves its huge white stamp upon our lives. In the oblivious field of mortal mind, revealed to the closet prophet ace of grace, or in some deep internal solitude, witnessed by a strange immaterial sense, the signals of eternity appear. The truth mind could not know unveils its face. We hear what mortal ears have never heard. We feel what earthly sense heart has never felt. We love what common hearts repel and dread. Our minds hush to a bright omniscient. A voice called from the chambers of the soul. We meet the ecstasy of the Godhead's touch. In golden privacies of immortal fire.
Thank you. Suresh?
This sign are native to a larger self that lie within us by ourselves unseen. Only sometimes a holier influence comes. A tide of mightier surgeons bear our lives, and a diviner presence moves the soul, or through the earthly coverings something breaks. Her grace and beauty of spiritual light, the murmuring turns of a celestial fire, ourselves and a high stronger whom we feel. It is and acts unseen as if it were not. It follows the line of supramental births, some eternal birth that seems to reach with its mortal frame, assured of the apocalypse to be. It reckons not the moments and the hours. Great pattern home, it sees the centuries pause, awaiting the slow miracle of our change, in the slow, deliberate process of old force, and the long march of all revolving time.
Thank you. Sridhar?
It is the origin and the master truth, the silence overhead, and inner voice, a living image seated in the heart, an unworn voice in a calculated mind. The truth of these scriptic truths is the real yours which are striving more, the secret granules in of our lives, the treasures of honey in the palms of God, the splendor burning in the tremendous thought. It is our glory of the flame of God, our golden fountain of the world's delight, an immortality found in the cave of death, the shape of our unborn divinity. God's powers or faith in deep within, what saves the eternal sleep of transient things. Always we bear in us a magic key, concealed in life's hermetic envelope, the burning witness in the sanctuary, beggars through times and the blind walls of form. A timeless light is in its hidden eyes. It sees the secret things no words can speak, and knows the code of the unconscious world and the heart of the mystery of the journeying years.
Thank you. Next.
All is creed, subliminal mystery. It needs the intuitive heart, the inward turn. It needs the power of spiritual gaze. Else to our waking minds, small and blue, a goalless rage seems to have been its course. Some chance has settled our hazarded symbol, are a necessity without aim or power, unwillingly compelled to emerge anew. In this dense field where nothing is plain or sure, our very being seems to us questionable. Our life a vague experiment, the soul a flickering light in a strange, ignorant world. The earth a blue mechanical accident, and death in which by chance we live. All we have learned appears a doubtful guess, the achievement that passage on a face, whose farther end is hidden from our sight, a chance happening on a fortuitous fate. Out of the unknown we move to the unknown, ever surround our brief existence here. Grey shadows of unanswered questions, the dark unconscious scientist mysteries, standard unsolved, begin fate's starting line. An inspiration in the night's profound sea of patient body and object mind, uplifts its lonely tongue of conscious flight towards an undying light forever lost. Only it hears sole echo of its call, the dimple play in man's unknown heart, and needs not understand why it came, or for what reason is the suffering hell. God's sanction to the paradox of life and the rule of the immortal's birth in time.
Thank you. Next up.
Along the path of eon serpentine, in the cold blackness of her omniscient force, the verse goddess toils across the sand of time. The being is in her womb, she hopes to know. The world speaks to her heart, she cannot hear. Fate from pure woods, form she cannot see. In her unconscious all by through the void, out of her mindless depth, she strives to rise. A perilous life gain, a struggling joy. The thought that can conceive, but hardly knows, arise slowly in her and create the idea. Speech that labels more than hides. The trembling gladness that is destined bliss invades from all this beauty that must die. Alarmed by the sorrow traveling at her feet, and conscious of the eye things not yet born. Ever she nurses in her sleepless breath, an inward urge that takes from her rest and peace. Ignorant and weary and invincible, she sits through the self-war and harboring pain, the pure perfection her mother nature needs. The breath of Godhead on her throne and near.
Thank you.
The faith she craves that can survive defeat, the sureness of a love that knows not death, the radiance of her truth forever sure. A light grows in her, she assumes a voice. Her state she learns to read and the act she has done. But the one needed truth eludes her grasp, herself and all of which she is the sign. An inarticulate whisper drives her steps, of which she feels the force, but not the sense. A few rare intimations come as guides. Immense divining flashes cleave her brain. And sometimes in her hours of dream and muse, the truth that she has missed looks out on her, as if far off and yet within her soul. A change comes near that flees from her surmise, and, ever postponed, compels attempt and hope, yet seems too great for mortal hope to dare. A vision meets her of supernal powers that draw her as if mighty kinsmen lost, approaching with estranged great luminous gaze. Then she is moved to all that she is not, and stretches arms to what was never hers. Outstretching arms to the unconscious void, passionate, she prays to invisible forms of gods, soliciting from dumb fate and toiling time what most she needs, what most exceeds her scope. A mind unvisited by illusion's gleams, a will expressive of soul's deity, a strength not forced to stumble by its speed, a joy that grabs not sorrow as its shade.
Thank you. I'll continue. For these she yearns and feels them destined hers. Heaven's privilege she claims as her own right. Just is her claim, the all-witnessing God's approve. Clear in a greater light than reason owns, our intuitions are its title deeds. Our souls accept what our blind thoughts refuse. Earth-winged chimeras are true steeds in heaven, the impossible God's sign of things to be. But few can look beyond the present state, or overleap this matted hedge of sense. All that transpires on earth and all beyond are parts of an illimitable plan, the one keeps in his heart and knows alone. Our outward happenings have their seed within, and even this random fate that imitates chance, this mass of unintelligible results, are the dumb breath of truths that work unseen. The laws of the unknown create the known. The events that shape the appearance of our lives are a cipher of subliminal quiverings, which rarely we surprise or vaguely feel, are an outcome of suppressed realities that hardly rise into material day. They are born from the Spirit's sun of hidden powers, digging a tunnel through emergency. But who shall pierce into the cryptic gulf and learn what deep necessity of the soul determined casual deed and consequence? Absorbed in a routine of daily acts, our eyes are fixed on an external scene. We hear the crash of the wheels of circumstance and wonder at the hidden cause of things. Yet a foreseeing knowledge might be ours if we could take our spirit's stand within, if we could hear the muffled demon voice. Thanks to Sharon.